Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, things are getting worse and worse and worse for AOC. I think her days are numbered in office. I really do. I think that she's on the cusp of being voted out. Maybe not this election, but maybe next election. I'm just saying. Because again, it seems like week after week after week, she finds herself in more trouble with more drama among people who are supposed to be supporting her. Because if you guys remember, last week, AOC had a town hall style event with her constituents, and they showed up and showed their displeasure for AOC and her policies. Now, how does AOC respond to her constituents? She goes on Twitter and calls them homophobes, right? That's what she does. She says, these homophobes were yelling Westboro Baptist-style anti-LGBTQ plus slogans. What do you think I'm gonna do? Take them seriously. If you want to associate with their views, that's your business. But NY14 will always have a champion for LGBTQ plus people on my watch, period. So I want you guys to understand, instead of actually listening to her constituents and acknowledging their concerns, she calls them homophobes, right? Homophobes. She attacks them, right? So fast forward to this week, AOC was out in California at the University of California, Irvine, campaigning for other Democrats. And she got heckled and protested by Latinos.
AOC, what about the migrants? What about the migrants, AOC? What about the little kids being at the southern border? What about the migrants, AOC? At the border. What about the little girls getting Latinos? AOC, you're a disgrace. Talk about the little girls. Talk about the rings, AOC. What about the open border? Denounce Joe Biden. Denounce Joe Biden. Denounce the human smuggler in chief. Where's your photo up now? Where are the tears? Fake tears. Fake tears. Fake tears. Fake tears. Fake tears. AOC's a liar. AOC's a liar. AOC's a liar. AOC's a liar. Denounce Joe Biden. Denounce Joe Biden. Denounce Joe Biden.
Wait. I'm confused, guys, because the mainstream liberal media told me that Latinos and Hispanics are supposed to support open borders, right? They're supposed to be for open borders. They don't want closed borders because apparently closing the border is racist, right? And they're not supposed to support that. So where do they find all these Latinos that are opposed to AOC and Joe Biden's open border policy, right? Where do they find them at? They must be white supremacists. I don't know. I'm just saying. Maybe there is a wave of white supremacy that is overtaken the Hispanic community, because apparently the Hispanic community, we all know, they've been shifting more towards GOP, which again, apparently you're not supposed to support unless you are white. And what we're seeing here is a rise in what the media is calling far-right Latino, or in this case, Latina candidates, who are running for office and getting support among these whitewashed Hispanics. And in fact, there is a new poll that came out that absolutely is embarrassing towards AOC and the Democrats' narrative, that has Mayra Flores, the new Latina superstar, the so-called far-right Latina, right, that now has a better net favorability score among Hispanics and Latinos in this country than AOC. Take a look.
All right, listen, okay.
You know, you just can't not dance to that music, especially if you're Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez dancing off her own constituents at a town hall this week as they voice their concerns about her far-left agenda.
This comes as a new poll shows Republican Congresswoman Mayra Flores has higher net favorability than AOC among Hispanics who know them.
Texas Congresswoman Mayra Flores joins us now. Congresswoman, great to have you with us. So I just want to put this to you openly. You can see what her reaction is, her dancing, her mocking of the protesters, but also the existence of the protesters themselves who are displeased with AOC. What stands out to you?
Well, honestly, I find it very disrespectful that she doesn't take the time to hear their concerns. At the end of the day, they are her constituents. They voted for her, and she wouldn't be in that position if it wasn't because of the people. So it's heartbreaking to see how she puts her political party first versus the American people. But it doesn't surprise me, and that is why she has no favorability also among Hispanics, because she doesn't represent us, our conservative values of God, family, and country, and also all about hard work. That is who we are in the Hispanic community, and she doesn't stand for none of that.
Wait. You mean to tell me that Latinos and Hispanics, all of them don't support AOC? All of them don't support the Democrat far left agenda? That a decent amount of Hispanics, maybe even a majority of them, are actually conservative. They like God, family, hard work, traditional American values. You mean to tell me that that is possible from Latinos? Again, I wouldn't know watching networks like MSNBC that tell us that people who think like this, or at least candidates who run on conservative values, minority candidates, they're not actually voices of minorities. They're actually just faces.
Okay, so despite the fact that the GOP's racist rhetoric hasn't slowed down at all, they've begun hyping up their, get this, diverse candidates. Now, according to numbers provided by the National Republican Congressional Committee, 80 of the Republican incumbents and candidates on the ballot next month are women, 33 are Latino, 28 are Black, 13 are Asian American, and 3 are Native Americans. But faces of color do not always equate to voices of color. And as our own NBC's Scott Long points out in his great reporting, the leadership will still be almost entirely composed of white men. So really, this sounds more like the political equivalent of some of my best friends are Black. These are faces of color, not voices of color. The last voice of color I remember being active in the Republican Party was you, when Obama was in office. I mean, you at least felt like somebody I could understand and relate to. They seem to hype people who just are not coherent.
Yeah. If you don't agree with Democrats and you're a minority, therefore you are not coherent, right? You're not coherent. You're not actually a so-called person of color. You're not Black. You're not Latino. You're not Asian. You're not any of that, right? You're essentially a straight white male, okay? You're a straight white male. You're also not a woman either, okay? I just want you guys to understand exactly what the mainstream media and the Democrat Party is saying about people who clearly are not a monolith, right? Who clearly have a diverse set of values and beliefs and don't all align with the Democrat Party or the liberal agenda. And this is not just something that's showing up when you talk about Mayra Flores versus AOC, which again, embarrassing. She just got in office and Latinos already like her more than AOC. Again, it goes to show you that Latinos are not all, super liberal, open borders, Democrat Party supporters. They're not. Right? They actually have conservative values. But if you look at what's going on in Florida, Ron DeSantis, who may become the first Republican governor candidate to win Miami-Dade County in 20 years, he has a 7-point lead over his Democrat challenger, or Republican turned Democrat, Charlie Crist, among Florida Hispanic voters.
Look at a new poll from NBC LX and Telemundo. It shows that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is leading in his bid for re-election, as Ali mentioned, and he's got the support of one group in particular, Hispanic voters.
Yep. Here with more is NBC LX national political editor Noah Pransky. Okay, so we'll get to the Hispanic voters in one moment, but I want to talk big picture. He has the lead among all voters. What is it? What are the key areas, the issues that voters say, nope, we're with DeSantis on this?
Well, if you talk to Florida voters, and this is both anecdotal as well as what we're learning from the polls, most of them bring it back to COVID. Even people who say they aren't likely to vote for DeSantis give him generally good ratings on his handling of COVID. We just did this poll with Telemundo. The LX News poll found that 2 out of 3 likely Hispanic voters in Florida give him positive reviews on his handling of COVID. These are Hispanic voters who typically in the past had leaned more to the left. But again, even those who don't say they're going to vote for him, 1 out of 3 Democrats, Hispanic Democrats, are giving him positive reviews on his efforts to get the state open early, ban vaccine and mask mandates, and his other efforts.
Wow. When we talk about the Hispanic vote, especially in a state where that plays a major role, is there anything else that those voters are specifically looking at that they like what DeSantis did?
Yeah, so our poll really dove into some of the reasons behind DeSantis' momentum. And one thing that we see is that Republicans have just been really more effective at getting their messaging through. Republicans are being heard on Spanish language radio more. They're being seen on Spanish TV more. And the lieutenant governor who DeSantis chose, Jeanette Nunez, is a Cuban American who speaks Spanish. That has been very effective. Charlie Crist, his gubernatorial opponent here, barely on Spanish TV.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
if you see yourself, if you hear candidates speaking directly to your community using your language, is this something we are going to see Republican candidates take a page out of Florida's playbook and do elsewhere?
So I think Republicans are a step ahead of Democrats on realizing that the Hispanic voting bloc isn't really a bloc at all. The Hispanic voter in California, Arizona, Texas is frequently a Mexican-American descent. The Hispanic voter in Florida, way more likely to be Cuban, Puerto Rican, or maybe other countries in Central and South America. And that is a different constituency. Republicans have spoken better to them than Democrats.
And it's making a difference in the polls, as we see. NBCLX national political editor Noah Pransky.
Again, how do you explain this rise in support among Hispanics for, Republicans like Ron DeSantis? Well, let's just ask the race baiters of America, the race hustlers of America. And we have Soul Sister Race Pimp #1 here, Jamel Hill, who explains this phenomenon with racism, of course, right? It has to be racism. As she says, that proximity to whiteness is a real thing. Also reminds me of an adage I heard a long time ago about how the oppressed began to take on the traits of the oppressor. So essentially what she's saying here, she's saying a couple things, is that Hispanics, because of their proximity to whiteness, I don't really know what that means, okay? Apparently that proximity to whiteness is rubbing off on the Latinos. I think what she's arguing here is that the Latinos have now become white supremacists, right? They've now become white supremacists simply because they support Republicans. Which again, this is the same thing they say about black people, right? Black people that are conservative, that support Republicans, you're not actually black. Okay, you're actually a white supremacist in blackface, right? You're a white supremacist in blackface. Again, this is why these people are losing, right? This is why they're losing support fast. And as you know, Joy Reid, no surprises here, also doubles down on this, basically saying that the Hispanics and Latinos in Florida are, in fact, white supremacists. They are far right. She says, quote, "This wouldn't surprise me at all. The Proud Boys have all but merged with the Miami-Dade Republican Party. Social-politically, Florida is basically morphing into Brazil." Okay, so yeah, she's alluding to the fact that Brazil is more right-leaning, okay, and they are Latinos, okay, which is apparent that she sees as an issue. But again, ain't it amazing how these people, these mainstream liberal media analysts, which means that Democrat Party analysts probably think the same way as these people do. They all think the same, right? They don't believe in diversity of thought. They all believe that Latinos, the reason why they're voting Republican and GOP, it can't be because they're dissatisfied with Biden, the economy, the border, crime, drugs, being embarrassed on the world stage. It can't be because they're dissatisfied with the Democrats. It has to be because they're white, right? Or that they've been infiltrated by whiteness, which again, it alludes to this idea that they keep pushing out here, this very racist idea that you only can be a certain race or you only can be non-white if you are a Democrat, if you are liberal. However, that's not true. And that line of thinking is exactly why Democrats are losing support among minorities. And it really does demonstrate that you guys that the identity/victimhood politics is simply not working anymore. It is not enough to say, hey, if you don't vote for me, you're not actually Hispanic or Latino or black or Asian, you're homophobic, you're sexist, whatever. That's not working anymore. Okay, it's not working anymore. It's almost as if people actually care about the real issues that are affecting their lives outside of the victimhood politics, which is something that the Democrats they simply can't figure out, right? They want to die on the hill of victimhood politics, and it does not work anymore. It's not working. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.